Dear viewers, thank you very much for play this video. I have appeared in front of you again today. Now you are in right place. Today I will present a motivational video for beginners. My topic today is about Cel Animation explained, definition, types and methods, and basic concepts of animation. Watch this video carefully and you will benefit even a little bit. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Channel subscription is very important to me. Cel animation is one of the most traditional forms of animation and involves objects, usually characters, being hand drawn on clear celluloid sheets and placed over painted backgrounds. These are known as animated cells for animation cells. Artists at Walt Disney Studios popularized the technique from the 1930s. Cel animation was a standard practice throughout the 1950s and 60s through to the 80s with films like The Little Mermaid. But by the early 1990s, the digital era was underway. Initially, computers were used to color film, but soon the entire process was being handled digitally. Disney animator Floyd Normal told Collider, critics, artists, and cinema enthusiasts, however, remember the cel animation days as a golden age. Back in those days, animated films were made by hand. On technology, it was a handmade product. Disney animator Floyd Norman, cel animation versus digital animation, key difference. Cel animation was the dominant form of animation used across Hollywood for much of the 20th century as popularized by Walt Disney Studios. It wasn't until 1995 that the first computer-generated film arrived in Toy Story from the then new studio Pixar. But what are the key differences between digital and traditional animation? Hand-drawn versus computer design. The key difference between these two types of animation is way they are created. Cel animation saw artists draw by hand onto celluloid sheets known as animated cells. Digital animation is created largely by software and computers. Algorithm versus artistry. The Disney animators working on films like Snow White were artists first and foremost. Their tools were pens, pencils, and paints. CGI creators, on the other hand, are working with algorithms and 3D graphics. CGI artists boast huge creative skills, but it differs from the hand-drawn approach of old, which was more like a form of fine art. Huge teams versus smaller teams. Films created using traditional animation and animated cells needs heaps of resource. With every frame drawn by hand, productions would need lots of animators. Production companies could create CGI films with far fewer people in far less time. Fascinated by the world of animation, keep learning by reading our beginner's guide to animation. Examples of cel animation. Cel animation first came to public attention in the late 1930s when Disney used the technique on its animated films. bringing previously unknown color, movement, and realism to animated films. Some key examples of traditional animation films include Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs 1937. When critics and industry people talk about cel animation, Snow White is never far from the conversation. Released in 1937. It was the first American full-length animated feature. Animators hand in character outlines onto each individual cell, raising expectations of what could be created through animation. Sleeping Beauty 1959. In 1915, Art Insight asked its readers, why is original art from Sleeping Beauty so beautiful? The 1959 Disney used a mixture of hand-in colors with the then pioneering technique of geography, which automatically transferred the original ink drawings onto the cell. This enabled Disney to create richly detailed frames more efficiently. The Lion King 1994. By now, Disney had built over half a century of experience in creating traditional cel animations. And the arrival of the Lion King came during what critics referred to as the Disney Renaissance, with critics praising its warmth and color. Many still see The Lion King as a benchmark for Disney animation. The Princess and the Frog 2009. By the late 2000, CGI animations had become the norm, with Disney buying animation studio Pixar in 2006. But in 2009, Disney created a new hand-drawn film, The Princess and the Frog, under the direction of the team behind The Little Mermaid. It was one of the last hand-drawn Disney animations. How to make a traditional animation? Traditional cel animations may have been replaced by CGI and other digital animation techniques, but you can still create a cel animation today. Learn how in a few simple steps. Get the right tools. Traditional animation relies on pens, pencils, and paper rather than software and laptop screens. Source your plastic. You will need a thin sheet of colorless, transparent, and flexible plastic to create your animated cell. Draw your outline. You can now hand draw your outline on the front of the plastic sheet and add your color. Now, on the flip side of your sheet, you can add color and detail within the outline. Repeat for each frame. Draw and fill an outline for each individual frame in your scene. Create a background. Design the background of the scene on a separate sheet of paper or board. Place the animation. Place the animation cells over your background and photograph. Repeat for each frame. Traditional animation techniques. Traditional animation is made up of several techniques and processes, including cel animation. To give you a better idea of how those iconic animations were put together, we have detailed some of those below. Cel drawing. The practice of hand drawing individual frames of animation on sheets of thin, transparent plastic. These animations were called animated cells, and the technique. popularized by Disney from the late 1930s, became known as cel animation. The outline is drawn on one side and the color added on the other, and then the animated cell is placed over a pre-created background and photographed. Cell overlay is part of the cell animation process that transformed how animated films were made in the mid 20th century. Characters were hand drawn on plastic sheets and placed over existing backgrounds. These sheets of animated cells are called the overlay because it's being laid over the background, enabling characters to move and change their positions and expressions. Limited animation. Frame by frame cell drawing created animated cells that looked incredible, rich in detail, color, and depth, but the process itself was time consuming and drained resource. Limited animation was developed as a compromise where possible teams using limited animation techniques would reuse existing frames, only creating new animated cells where necessary. Animation loops. An animation loop is an animation that repeats. Generally, it will be a relatively short and simple sequence of animation set to continually replay. The first animation loops date back to the early 19s and were used in Steamboat Willie, a short film by Walt Disney from 1928. In more recent years, digital technology transformed what could be achieved with animated loops. If there is any mistake in my video, please comment. Any comments will make my way easier. Your valuable comments will motivate me to make new videos. Thank you for watching my video. Like and subscribe my channel. See you again next tutorial.